Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Cornerstone Integrative Healing podcast. I'm Jenn, here with my co-host, Kari. We're so excited to bring you our series on the barriers to healing. This is a really good episode. I'm excited about this one. I don't think it's talked about enough. I know Kari's really passionate about some of these, so and I am too. It's something that I think, as a society, we're really focused on, exercising, and we're really focused on diet. But over exercising and under eating and the lack of nature really isn't talked about specifically, and how detrimental it really can be to our system. Although there was a paper I read, something called they call the paleo deficit syndrome or something. It's something like that. They actually have a term for it. Basically, like, we're not exercising enough outside. We're not, synced up to the sun, and we're lacking nature, right? Because we work inside and pretty much enjoy the indoors. So anyway, Kari, you want to kick us off?
So in this series, we're talking about barriers to healing. So when you think about healing, I just always think about the energy that is needed to heal. And so there's so many things that drain our energy. We've talked a lot about like emotional things, and that definitely drains our energy, right? And then we've just talked about, other underlying things that might just impede healing. And so we really wanted to chat about these three that Jenn mentioned, which is under eating, over exercising, and then not being outside enough, because these things really do impede, like they kind of suck our energy out, right? If we're thinking about wanting our body to heal, but yet we're not giving it the energy that it needs, let's just say with something like food, it can't do much with that, right? It has to have energy to do what we're asking it to do. And it's always going to prioritize survival over true healing. And so when you think about being in survival mode, that's not a healing mode, and you can't be in both at the same time. So obviously a lot of this does go back to nervous system dysregulation, right? We're spending a lot of time in that sympathetic dominant side of our nervous system. That's part of this equation. And then you couple that possibly with not eating enough. It's just, you can see how that really does impede healing. It's a barrier to healing. So yeah, we'll start with under eating. And it's funny how you wouldn't think, some people don't even realize that they're actually under eating, because it's so much of a part of culture now, right? We are told to eat clean, or intermittent fasting is a big thing, right? It's like we're going to shorten our window when we eat, in the day. And not that there's not benefit to that, but I think somewhere along there we got sort of off on the wrong path, and we've put that above actually fueling our body well. And it's just something, again, that kind of happens almost without us realizing it. And I can't tell you the amount of women that I see that are actually under eating that come to work with us. I don't know if you feel the same way, Jenn, but it's just 100%. Something that we don't even realize. And I have definitely fallen a victim to this as well. But
Especially
yeah,
with the low carb diet. I feel like,
yeah,
once the low carb, the Atkins style back in the 70s, which, right, for weight loss, the keto or the Atkins can be really great, especially if, morbidity is, high because of obesity. But there's consequences to that long term for sure.
yeah. Definitely. And I mean, you have to think of our body as something that does need energy to function. But if we want to really think about the healing portion of it, we have to have enough energy for that to happen versus just the things that we have to survive, right? Every day after day. Um, and so I think that seeing that as a stressor really helps us to see it in the correct light, because our body perceives that as a stress. If we don't give it enough energy with food, that's our primary source of energy. Our body needs food to survive and to go into that healing mode. It really then goes into energy conservation if we don't give it the fuel that it needs. And so that is our body perceives as a stress, and so it just keeps us in this cycle. That's what I think about, right? We're trying to break the stress cycle. This actually keeps us in that cycle, and it's really hard to to, I guess, get out of that cycle and start healing without giving our body the proper fuel it wants from food.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, there are definitely exceptions. For as you age, your metabolic activity does go down, right? I'm in perimenopause, very close to menopause, and your muscle mass goes down, and so by default, your metabolic activity goes down. And so, yes, do we have to decrease calories as we age? Possibly, depending on your muscle mass versus fat mass. Absolutely. If you're morbidly obese and have a BMI over, I don't know what it is, 22 or 23, 24, I don't know. I'm not a dietitian, but do you need to concentrate more on weight loss if you're in the high morbidity? Absolutely. Like I said, there's really good consequences to, intermittent fasting. However, if you are healing, if you are in a constant stress response, what we have found, and Kari, correct me if I'm wrong, for some of those people, those things can be detrimental.
You mean it
It
not get taking in the correct amount of calories? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Or even intermittent fasting, that long window of
Yeah.
fasting for some people, if they don't have enough glycogen reserves. So, we have reserves in our liver for glucose, right? And our
Yeah.
main source of fuel that our body prefers, excuse me, is glucose. And so it will, if your glycogen reserves are low, you can't maintain blood sugar if your primary source is, glucose. Now, some people,
Sure.
if you're on a keto or you've got into and your body's used to burning fat, for ketones, or burn ketones. How's that? Yeah. To,
Yeah.
to use ketones, right, or fat as a source. That's a different subject, right? Again, I think short term that can be really good for some people, and especially for some disease states. But I would say for the majority of people, they're abusing those type of diets, especially the low carb, because carbs are probably one of our main sources of potassium, and most people are deficient in potassium, right? We
Mhm.
just blow through potassium. So, yeah. Definitely. Do you have anything else on under eating?
Yeah. I don't think so. I think that's good. I just think about, you know, the day and time that we live in. There are so many types of stressors. And you're right, we all have all of these stresses in our lives, and this is just one more. And it, it
Sure.
it almost just sometimes sends people over the edge because there is so much more stress, and our body's just like waving its white flag, and we're just still over here starving ourselves, and it's just not a good scenario. So hopefully you get the picture with that, right? We
Yeah.
need to fuel our body well. We're not talking about um not eating enough and then turning to junk food. Certainly not, right? We're talking about whole foods that actually have the vitamins and the minerals and all the things that our body needs, and the carbs, right? Those are super important for our energy source. So it's really just about fueling our body well in a balanced way, appropriate for where we are, right? You're going to need more fuel if you're exercising a lot. You're burning more energy, so you need to, give your body some energy to burn. So that kind of takes us into our next subject, which was over exercising, because what a lot of people do is they're actually coupling under eating with over exercising, and that is just not a good
Disaster.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are two additional stressors, right? You just have to think our body is, if it's not getting what it needs, it sees that as a stress, as a almost an attack, if that makes sense, right? And so it does go into survival mode. And I've just seen where maybe that used to work for you when you were younger, and so you continue to do the same thing, and as you age and maybe just over time your body starts to actually put on weight versus maintain a weight. That's a key sign that your body is feeling stress. It's feeling like it needs to go into this survival mode, and it's going to start holding on to weight. So if you feel like you're at a plateau and you just keep gaining weight, you really might want to look at some of these things, or get somebody else to help you with, hey, what's actually is a good amount of food to be eating in a day, and what does a good exercise routine for me right now look like based on where I'm at with in my life from a lot of different angles. Sometimes it's hard to see when it's you. You need an outside source of another pair of eyes to look from just a different viewpoint.
Yeah, and when you exercise matters too. So because exercise will boost cortisol, which is your stress hormone, remember, exercise is good stress, but it's still stress. And so exercising intensely, especially at night, when cortisol's naturally falling and melatonin is naturally rising, can interfere with sleep, because cortisol will cause melatonin, which is your sleep onset and maintenance hormone, to decrease.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's any intense exercise. I would say a slow flow yoga class or stretching or, something like that is absolutely fine at night, because you're relaxing and it's not pushing your stress hormones. But, I would say like HIIT class or, maybe, something more intense, you probably should stick to mid-afternoon, morning.
Yeah. And, too, if you get up in the morning and exercise, you just want to make sure you eat something beforehand so that your body has some energy to burn before maybe you eat a larger breakfast afterwards. That's a thing that I see a lot with people too, especially, women that work, they want to get their exercise in. And I totally get that, but it
Right.
just has to be done the right way, or else it's going to backfire over time.
Sure.
Also, one other thing is that if you are still cycling, you're more sensitive to stress certain times in your cycle, later in your cycle, right before you actually start your cycle. And so you just want to maybe be sensitive to that. If you're really on an intense workout schedule, you might just want to tone it down a little bit in the last 2 weeks of your cycle before you actually start your period. That can really help just to change those things, even subtly. I think you'll see long term that you'll do much better with that, and of course, fueling your body well too.
Yeah, I just want to mention something about, maybe there might be some like marathoners listening, or, even if they're constant runners or, Ironmen. There's consequences. Like I said, exercise is stress to exercise too. So something called oxidative stress. So just the metabolic activity to keep up with exercise increases as the intensity and duration increases. And so if you are one of those people that, you're just a runner, you like running, then things like, antioxidant to help with oxidative stress, immune boosters, because, light exercise can boost the innate immune system, but too intense can actually decrease it. I always would recommend for those people using, doing longer workouts or more intense, to use a recovery of the whey pro from Standard Process, because they actually put colostrum in there as a recovery for the immune system. So it's just a little bit of a dual, you're getting your protein and you're boosting that immune response to post. And again, those are for your more intense exercise situations.
Yeah. So lastly in this topic was lack of nature, which might not really seem like a barrier to healing, but we talked a lot about the effects of just constantly being inside, being under blue light. We've talked about those in past episodes. Maybe we'll link those below. But yeah, it's just, nature is so healing in so many different ways. It just keeps our body on a good 24-hour schedule. It keeps our hormones in check. It can help our gut health. It actually also, if, just thinking about being outside, hopefully feet in the grass can really help to recharge our body. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So, and when she says recharge, she means literally. So we're talking at the cellular level. So when you make contact with the ground, any part of your body really, actually the body emits a certain negative it emits negative ions at a certain frequency that we really soak up and use to recharge our cells, because our cells have a charge. And so we constantly need that negative ion for our cells to function properly. And so, if you can't, especially in the winter where I live, it's really hard right now. It's -8, right? So I'm not putting my feet in the grass today. It's just not happening. So, things like grounding mats, make sure they're well grounded, can be, really, really useful to help, again, charge our cells, because it's super, super, super important, because it affects how we detox. So if the cell isn't charged properly, so there's not enough intracellular water, we don't detox well. So I know this. So some of you, it might sound woo-woo, they talk about earthing or grounding. It's really a thing. Like, we are supposed to be connected to the earth to literally recharge, and be able for our cells to function optimally. Yeah. So as Kari mentioned, grounding along with syncing our circadian rhythm with light, those are real things that really can interfere with healing if they're disturbed. And so, there are ways, obviously, to kind of get around some of those in modern living, especially lights at night. And, we've talked about using the orange lens and things, but those things are important. The more you're dealing with chronic, disease or chronic issues.
Well, we hope this has been helpful, just to shed some light and just maybe move forward in a different way. If some of these things resonated and you're like, gosh, I do fall into one of these categories. I think that, all we can do is just kind of move forward in a different way. And so we do have a YouTube video specifically for how to pair exercise with your cycle, to do it in the best way that would cause the least stress on your body. And so we're going to link that up below. Check that out. If you have any questions about any of this, we would love to hear from you. We have all of our contact information in the show notes, and we will continue this series on the next episode, and we'll see you guys on that one.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.